for those of you on YouTube, I just want to make sure that all of you know that today's class or today's lesson, you're able to reach back to me. You are able to ask any questions on facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. And so today we're going to talk about an illness that nobody is talking about. I had to stumble upon it, and I'm sure that our teacher today had to stumble upon it. She and I haven't really talked about her story other than some articles that I had read she'd written, and she captured my attention. So today, make sure you call anyone who has breast implants, or if you have breast implants, grab a notepad and paper because we're going to learn and grow together. Now, we're about to get muted, but as soon as you hear the music, it's time to dance. It's time to dance, Sunniva.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who've been tuning in to the Lillian McDermott radio show /classroom since 2011, or maybe you stumbled upon it yesterday for the first time, please know that I am very grateful for you for tuning in. If this is the first time that you've tuned in, and someone said, hey, you need to watch this, it's an interesting topic today, then welcome. Just know I've been waiting for you. Please know that this is a safe place you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live, feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now today, we have an interesting story. This is the first time that I talk about this subject because I myself stumbled upon it. And so because I stumbled upon it, I figured, who else doesn't know about this? And as you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. As I start doing my research on it, I'm finding women after women after women having this issue and not even knowing why. So in comes Sunniva Holt. She's all the way in New Zealand. I don't know when we started following each other, but we follow each other through Instagram. And I read her story and I thought, it's time. It's time. She is a self-made millionaire. She's an author of 2 self-help books, motivational speaker, life coach, and she is well known in New Zealand as Queen Fire. So hashtag Queen Fire. And so she teaches people how to step into their full power, pretty much doing the same thing in different sides of the world. And we meet each other with something in common, something that we wanted to learn, something that she's lived and I'm learning more about. And isn't that what it's all about? Helping each other out so that the person that's at the beginning of their journey doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. And so I reached out to Sunniva, and immediately she said, yes, I will come on and share your story. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful and honored that Sunniva Holt is here to do just that. Welcome, Sunniva, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show /classroom.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
So are you ready to be the teacher today?
Sure.
Well, let's talk about your background, because with your bio, you have done a lot with your life. So share how you stumbled upon becoming a millionaire, because we could do a show just on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll have to start right back at the beginning, really, to you have to start at the beginning to get to the end. So I grew up in a very remote part of New Zealand. It was 3 hours from a town or city. I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian household, one of 10 children. And I was homeschooled, and it was quite isolated, and we had very, very strict and particular ways and rules of doing everything, which brought with it its own challenges, but it also gave me a lot of strength and courage, and taught me to work really hard, and showed me that I could, proved to me that I could do anything that I set my mind to.
Sure.
And one of the first things that this was I wanted to go to high school, which is a very normal thing for most children, for most people, and probably most kids would prefer not to. But for me, that was my dream, and my parents were very anti it because they were very very much wanting us to only be taught in the religious
Sure.
form that they had, right? So it took me a long time to convince them to let me go to high school, and I had to pay for that myself.
Wow.
So like, you can go, but you have to come up with the $3,000. And this was when I was 15, and this was quite a few years ago. I'm 38 now. And so back then, you know, it's still a lot of money for a 15-year-old. Back then it was a huge sum of money. And I think for them, they thought that I wouldn't be able to do it. So challenge accepted. I went out and hustled and did every menial job under the sun. I babysat, I cleaned toilets, I worked in sheep shearing sheds, literally sorting the sheep shit from the wool, like anything that I could do to make this happen. And I did. I came up with the money. I went to high school at 16, and I was like, right, well, if I can do that, the world is my oyster. I can do whatever I want. And I did. I went overseas and I traveled by myself when I was 17 around Canada. And then I came back and I was a little bit adrift. I was like, I don't really know what I want to do, but my mum was pressuring me into going and doing some study. And she was like, go do a journalism course. You love writing. And so I went and did that. I was like, God, this is just kind of crushing my soul a little bit. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing. I ended up following a boy to another part of New Zealand, as often happens, and we were saving up to go travel around the world. And I walked past a real estate office one day and looked in the window, and I saw all these properties listed on the window, and I looked at one and I was like, I reckon I can buy that. I feel like I want to buy that. And there was something in me that was really called to it, and I had no idea how it was going to happen. I didn't know anything about real estate. I did not grow up with money. My parents didn't have money. They didn't know anything really about business. They were just farmers. But I felt called to it, and I knew I could make it happen. So I went in that office and set up an appointment with an agent to go look at the property. She looked at me and was like, right.
How old were you at the time?
I was 19.
19.
So I didn't think that they really took me that seriously, but we went and looked at some properties. I found one that really struck a chord with me, that I fell in love with, and then I found ways to make that happen, and that was my first. And it never came from a desire to make a whole lot of money. I also, at the same time though, I also knew that I wanted to be really successful, and that I was not wanting to follow in my parents' footsteps. did not agree with their religious views. I knew that money was important because it gave you freedom. But the property thing was really just something that lit me up, that I felt really inspired by. And so buying that first property really sparked something in me. And I went on and read a whole lot of books and went to courses and found out as much as I could about this, and fell in love with every aspect of it. The numbers, the interior design, the mortgages, the banks, the whole negotiating process, all of it. And that has been something that I'm still in love with to this day. And as a side effect, I did make a lot of money. I was very successful through buying that property and then going on and buying more and more and more over the period of time.
Wow.
So that was really the beginning of success in the financial sense, at least. And it's meant that now I've been able to buy a home I've always dreamed of, all those years ago. I'm now living in this incredible home, came from really humble beginnings, and was able to build up to this point. So
at this point, you're very successful. You can have anything you want. So you start getting things for yourself. Was there anything that you were healthy at the time? What was your nutrition like at the time? Coming from farmers, you probably had a certain way that you were eating. Did that play in your changes that you've made in your life?
Can you just repeat that? I missed the beginning.
Yes. So they're in New Zealand. She's in New Zealand. I'm in Florida. So I'm just so grateful to the technical, all the technical issues that we have. So with the fact that now you have all this abundance, did your nutrition change? Did your lifestyle change? You had the religious beliefs that were founded in you that you rejected, and we're in choice. You had every right to reject. Did anything change there?
Health-wise, not significantly. So I always had quite a big interest in health, right from a really young age. Even when I didn't have money, I still made the effort to eat well. So good. I was always physically active. I always ate well. That's something that from pretty much my whole life, aside from, there was little blips where I was partying in my early 20s and that kind of thing. But aside from that, really, I've always been very health-minded.
Very good. Very good. So was there a time, so now comes the time where, we show that you have success, everything is good. Now what happened? Did anything go wrong to start causing you to feel ill?
So not particularly. So what happened was I was experiencing minor symptoms for a long time, right? And this went on for years and years and years. And because they were quite minor most of the time, I couldn't really pinpoint what they were. And I think I just continued to try and get even more healthier and more fitter to try and combat those things.
Sure, that's a great way to do it.
But as time went on, the symptoms were getting worse, and I was literally doing everything that I could, and nothing was really helping those things. So it got to a point, probably about 5 years ago, the birth of my daughter was a turning point, I guess, and that was also a point where I got even healthier and got really involved in raw food and all this kind of stuff. But I couldn't understand what was going on in my body. It was like getting to the afternoon and couldn't even function, right? Like I was needing to go for a rest, and I felt like I was failing as a mum because I didn't have the energy for my daughter to carry on through the day. So these things that were really puzzling, and I couldn't understand what was going on in my body. And it's like, why, I'm a problem solver. Yeah. Why can't I solve this problem? It was kind of a mystery to me, but something that I went to nutritionists, I went to doctors, I went to naturopaths, I went to everything. I had every test under the sun and could not find the answer.
And so what were some of these symptoms? It sounds like you were exhausted, and but what's some of the symptoms that you were experiencing? And going from doctor to doctor, were they able to say what it is, or did they want to give you medication to combat whatever you were feeling?
I think we're quite lucky in New Zealand that medication is not one of the first avenues of dealing with things.
I think I'm moving there. I'm moving there tomorrow.
It's not very common here. So we're more likely to prescribe vitamins and that kind of thing in New Zealand. No, there were times where they guess at things, there was, but there were no real answers, right? And I started to almost feel like a hypochondriac, because I was like, well, if I'm feeling all these things and there's no answers, then like, almost, is it real in a way? Even though I knew it was intuitively. So it was a difficult thing to be in, to be experiencing all these things and just not know what was going on.
So were you harder on yourself because there was no answer? And now you have a daughter. How do you, how are you feeling about yourself? Because now you're a mom, and I'm sure that this is a gift that you've always wanted. And now your energy is to the point where you're feeling like a failure, like a horrible mom. Did your health start declining at that point?
It was slow and steady. I liken it to the frog in the boiling water, right? You put a frog in a pot of cold water and you slowly raise the temperature. The frog has no idea that it's being boiled to death. And that was quite similar to what I was experiencing, because the symptoms were slow and steady. It was subtle, right? Until it got to the point where it was feeling more extreme, but because it had been happening slowly over time, I just my body acclimatized to it. It was just like, oh, this is how things are, you just forget what it's like to feel normal.
Mm. So at what point are you now looking for answers how did you learn about breast implant illness?
By accident. So I was always looking for answers. Like I said, I spent a crazy amount of money on going to naturopaths and all the superfoods and vitamins and trying to do things that would help me. But it was actually only a few months ago, completely unrelated to the health stuff, that I was getting a strong intuitive hit. I'm very, very attuned to my intuition, and it's always led me in the right direction. So I know to trust it with everything, right? And I was getting a very strong intuitive hit. It was like, you've got to get your implants out. So it was at that point, I'm also a researcher. So I went online, started Googling everything I could. And that's when I came across a lot of other women that were having their implants removed because of very similar or the same health conditions that I was suffering from. And that's when I was like, oh, holy shit. But at the same time, I was really committed to getting them out regardless of the health things, because it's like, well, I could get them out and it might not solve anything.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay with me as well. Right. I'm not putting everything on this operation solving all my problems, but I know I need to get these out. So I did all my research. I talked to surgeons and booked in. So I was like, I'm going to find a surgeon that can do this. Like, I was really committed to this happening as soon as possible. And so I think from the time of making that decision that I wanted to get them out, I booked a surgery for within 6 weeks. Saw the surgeon, or it might have even been shorter than that. I remember it being a very short period of time. And what was really interesting was from that point of deciding to get them out to the point of the surgery, my health declined quite quickly in that period of time.
How so?
I was experiencing some very weird symptoms. Like I was getting these painful lumps on my scalp, on the back of my neck. I was getting swellings in my glands. So they were like getting quite swollen up and quite painful. But these like lumps that were on my head, they were kind of weeping and horrible and just really strange. Yeah, so those two things were and then just feeling like my health was going downhill. I felt like I was just even more lacking energy, even more struggling through my day, feeling even like my immunity was a bit more suppressed, that I was just feeling kind of like I was battling a cold permanently.
So, okay, so I read that you got your implants about 11 years ago.
Correct.
Is that when these symptoms started happening? Were you able to go back and say, gosh, these are things that are happening? Because I'm looking at all the symptoms, and I'm going to take a moment here to read the symptoms from breastimplantillness.com, and it's fatigue or chronic fatigue, cognitive dysfunction, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, word retrieval, memory loss, muscle ache, pains, weakness, joint pain and soreness, hair loss, dry skin, dry eyes, dry mouth, dry hair, weight gain or weight loss. It could go either way. Easy bruising and slow healing of wounds, temperature intolerance, low libido, ringing of ears, heart palpitations, shortness of breath, metallic taste in the mouth, oral thrush or white tongue, night sweats, skin rash, insomnia, estrogen progesterone imbalance, diminishing hormones, early menopause, swollen and tender lymph nodes in the breast area, under armpits, neck, groin, tingling or numbness in the arms or legs. The list is long, and that's just half of the and so when I'm reading these, and there's more, I don't want to spend too much time. I want all of you to go and check out these symptoms of these. Can you, if I go down, do you want me to just say yes, I got them, or not got them, or would you like to do that? Or
sure. I mean, I experienced quite a few of those, and the thing for me as well was like, well, but they could be from anything else, right?
Correct.
People that don't have implants could have those, and that's why I was not hung up on the surgery solving my problems. But I did experience many of those things. Hormone imbalance was a big one. Energy, waking up feeling hungover is a really common symptom. So it's like I didn't even drink alcohol for quite long periods of time in my life, and every morning I wake up feeling like I was hungover. Memory loss was a big one. Like you're halfway through a sentence or a conversation, you're like, oh, I have no idea what I was actually even talking about.
And we're all busy, and one could say, oh, you're busy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was many of those symptoms I was experiencing, and they definitely did not, like I was saying, did not come on all at once. It didn't start, like it wasn't like, bam, got my implants in, I suddenly got really sick. Not like that at all, although that has happened to some women,
yes.
Right? For me, that was not my experience. I can look back and go, oh, my energy started diminishing a little bit at that point. Right, it got a little bit harder to go to the gym. I was like bouncing off the walls kind of energy at that, beforehand. Mm-hmm. I was always a very high energy person, and I can look back and notice, well, it got harder to get through an hour training session at the gym, but like I said, just slow and steady. So you don't really notice it. And then you start trying to attribute it to other things. Oh, well, I've had a child. So, that messes your body up, and it does, right?
Yeah.
That makes things really out of whack. And so a lot of those things I was just kind of trying to write off for other reasons, like, oh, well, I'm getting older, but at the same time I knew, well, 37, 38, that's actually not that old. I should not be.
Isn't it amazing how the stigma is that as you get older, you're going to get sick, but it doesn't have to be that way. If you take care of your body, you take care of your mind, these symptoms, you knew that you go to the doctor, your body's speaking to you. And let's talk about, because I've done a lot of research. I'm sure you've done a lot more research as well. We think that putting implants in our body, did you think that this was going to cause, did the doctor tell you, hey, 40% of women who put implants in their body have them removed because of symptoms? Did you get that kind of advice from your doctor?
God, no. Okay, so let's look at that for a minute, because
Yes.
first of all, this was 11 years ago, right? So things were, a lot less was known. Like, this breast implant illness was unheard of, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The only, I don't recall my doctor telling me anything about side effects other than, I guess, the general, I guess there's like a slight possibility of infection or whatever, those kind of things, and that at some point you need to get them replaced. That is the extent of what they will say to you. Even now, surgeons, 99% of surgeons will deny
Yes.
that there are any side effects, that breast implant illness even exists. They will, because of course this is a multi-million, probably like let's go billion-dollar
Yes.
industry.
Yeah.
Whenever there is money to be made, of course they're not going to talk about the things that, those kind of side effects, those things that can go wrong. And the studies are all going to be done by the plastic surgery industries who are standing to make money from this.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, I could go down the list. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, if you want me to go down this list, I will. But it is a long list. And it's interesting. Thyroid disease, autoimmune disease is part of this. So, and what I've learned from this is an intrusion in the body. And the body is protecting the person. The body is protecting us, saying, there's an intruder here. Let's take all our energy and start focusing on protecting you. So that's why maybe the symptoms don't happen right away, but eventually the drop will make the cup runneth over, right? So here you are going to the doctors, you're scratching your head. Did you ever think it was your implant?
No, never.
So great intuition, wonderful. So how do you now go to your husband or go to the people around you and say, I think this is my implant? Where did you go for your research?
Google, always.
Isn't it kind of scary that we're only as smart as Google?
Well, Google is collected intelligence, right? So
Yeah.
the collective of, all of humanity. So in that case, it is very intelligent. And you have to sort through.
Because there's a lot of lies in Google too.
Of course, and you've just got to use your gut instinct and
Yes.
go, okay, that makes sense, right? Like that, that makes sense for me. So yeah, so I just started getting into that. And then I found out that I recalled that there was a friend of mine that had her implants taken out the previous year, and I didn't really look into it too much at the time. But then I looked back and I was like, oh, that's right. I'm going to go chat to her. Did you call her?
Did you think she was crazy to remove her implants?
No, I didn't think she was crazy.
Oh, okay. Did you question it? Did you question it?
I never questioned my own, because to me...
No, her. Did you question her for removing her implants? Okay.
Oh, God, no. I would never question someone else's personal choices. It just wasn't my personal choice. And to me, it didn't actually comprehend that something like getting eczema on your feet or feeling hungover would have anything to do with implants, right? I was cut it off to this area. So, maybe if you're getting pains in your breasts or something like that's happening, and then, well, yeah, sure, it makes sense. But I hadn't looked at the idea that they could be causing this mass inflammation in your body. Right?
Yes, yes. So at this point, now you're saying, this might be it. So who were your teachers? So you had your chat with your friend that had her implants removed a year prior. Were they surprised that you called to ask the questions, or how was that conversation?
No, not at all. I think they had a lot of conversations about it. So the main source of information for me, honestly, was there is a Facebook group on, I think it's called Breast Implant Illness or Breast Implant Illness Awareness. So I went on there and spent a lot of time reading everybody's stories, looking at the photographs, chatting to people that had the surgery. I was already committed to having it, so I was really just trying to find a really good surgeon, and just more information about like how to deal with recovery and that kind of thing.
Well, let's talk about that. So, when we're looking at making a change, and I'm gonna take a little pause here because this is a lot to take in. When I first learned about breast implant illness, and I heard it over and over and over and over again, I dismissed it. Anyone that, when you talk about breast implant illness, and let's say you go to a doctor who's a plastic surgeon, their reply is, they're crazy women. They're just looking for a buck.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard. And so, you kind of dismiss it as, these are people that are kind of off balance, and there's now a new stigma attached to anybody who has all these, that are listening to their body and saying, I need to do something, which is what we talk about here in the classroom. I want all of us to feel that kind of empowerment, that if you go to a doctor and a doctor calls you crazy or a hypochondriac or anything like that, and I have to be careful because there are hypochondriacs and there are people, but could it be something that you've put into your body? Could it be that? Could it be the implants? Could it be a joint? Because what's the difference between the silicone on a breast implant and the silicone in a knee replacement? Or maybe somebody had lips put in or cheeks put in or a chin put in. What is the difference? So we don't know what we don't know. So this is a place where we can go to when you need a friend. And I'm hoping that you get it right now, that this is not about looking good. This is all about informed choice. So if you know something you're doing is making you sick, why take the pill? Why not do what, oh my gosh, Sunniva, that was a huge decision. So I just want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com real quickly, because I must honor my sponsors and those who have stood with this information. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And so I encourage you to always trust but verify, even the things you hear in the classroom. So I want to acknowledge Liberty Health Share. If you go to whenyouneedafriend.com and of course subscribe, also subscribe to my YouTube channel. So when you do that, you get the information sent to you, and you also get my 90-day challenge to self-love ebook. But check out my sponsors. Click on my sponsors after you subscribe and you like and you follow. Check out my sponsors. Click the button Liberty Health Share, where you can turn away from insurance and embrace a new way to take care of your body, of health, really true health care, affordable. Keep Me Safe Organics, total organic, non-synthetic. It's the makeup I wear, body products I use. And if you mention, or if you go, when you buy your order, 10% off if you put in Lily 10. First Alternative Care, take care of the entire family with telemedicine, family practice, dermatology, and 3 hours a year of behavioral health counseling for $35 the entire household. There's also Dr. Grable, who was on the show yesterday, who I wanted to bring on today because he is very much in tune with breast implant illness. And so we're gonna have another show with him, with a medical doctor, to talk about this. And Sunniva, you can join us if you'd like. And he is complimentary holistic alternative in Jacksonville. You go check him out as well, and the pharmacy in Merritt Island. These are all different ways that you can stand with my sponsors. You yourself can become an enrolled student in the classroom and deciding that you want to be a part of expanding the show. So go to the enrolled student button and learn more so that we can all grow together. So today we're talking with Sunniva Holt all the way in New Zealand. There are so many women who have been diagnosed with so many different diseases, but the problem and the root cause could be breast implants. So if you know somebody that has implants, or if you know it yourself, you owe it to yourself to research it, because 60% of women don't have any issues. Maybe they do, but don't know it. but 40%. Now, have you followed along, Sunniva, and thank you so much for sharing your story today. Have you followed this whole 60-40, the fact that they're not really tracking who has breast implant illness?
So my own belief is that we have been putting so many things into our body thinking there are no consequences, right? And we can look back at history to see how many times that's happened, only to find out many years later how much damage that has caused, because we don't have the studies, we don't have the proof until it's been around for a long period of time. Yet we think it's quite normal to inject our lips and inject our face and put implants into our body and inject fat into our butt and do all these things to change our aesthetics. And it's like to make ourselves more beautiful, right? Not really looking at the potential impact that can have, because there's no proof, there are no studies. And I feel like we're going to look back in 20 years and see this in a really different light. And so the beautiful thing about having this surgery and seeing what a huge difference it's made in my health, it's made me question so many other things. It's made me question what the other things that I do in my life, or what I'm doing aesthetically, or what I'm putting into my body, and how I'm treating myself. And so it is something that we get to look at. We get to look a little bit deeper and ask ourselves why we do the things that we do.
Yeah,
I think it's really important to look at that. It's a huge part of self-love.
Yes, I like that. And so when you had your surgery, how much time did you have to take? Was it shocking to all of a sudden have a new body? Because I don't care what anybody says, when you get implants, it's a part of your body. So how did it feel after your surgery, or during the process of deciding to do the surgery? Can you share a little bit about the feelings, emotions, what you must have gone through?
Well, first of all, it was only hours after the surgery that I started to feel a lot better. My head felt clear within a short period of time. And then it took about 2 weeks of recovery. So I had 2 weeks of being quite quiet at home, but I was just ecstatic. I was so overjoyed. I was just like, this is what it feels like to feel normal. And I felt this for such a long time. I am so grateful. I am so grateful for my body. I'm so grateful for how quickly it can bounce back from something, from quite major surgery. And so the other thing I was very conscious of is like, yes, I'm going from having these big, these big breast implants to being more flat-chested again. And so I spent time in the mirror, pouring into myself, into that self-love, and also just having so much appreciation for how differently my body could operate. I was like, I can run and it doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. I don't have to wear a bra if I don't want to. I can wear different clothes. And then I started looking at different role models. I started looking at women that do have quite flat chests that are absolutely stunning, and going, yes, that's my role models now. I'm not looking at not that the Pamela Andersons were ever my role models, but I just shifted my focus. And I shifted my focus also to women that were aging naturally and how beautiful they were, right? And so when you're able to shift your focus, it really changes the way that you look at yourself as well, because your environment is everything. Who you're surrounding yourself with is everything. And if you're surrounding yourself with other women that have had a lot of surgery, it starts to make you question, oh, am I good enough? Do I look good enough? Like, am my lips good enough? All that kind of thing. So we just have to be so conscious, I believe, of not only our physical environment, but our social media environment is a huge one. Who are we following? Right?
Yes.
And so that was a really big part of this whole process for me, because I've done a huge amount of work on personal development. I work in personal development. This is my whole business. And I've done a huge amount of work in self-love, but this was taking it a whole next level for me.
Wow. So can you contrast, can you look at the young Sunniva Holt that decided to have the implants? What did you think the implants were going to do for you?
At the time I was living in Vancouver, I was surrounded by young wannabe actresses that all had implants, right? Environment. I was also more externally focused. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to like have a certain aesthetic, and you know, there was a part of me that thought, oh, if I have like bigger boobs, then I will feel better about myself, that I will be more worthy as a person. Which was interesting because I got them and it actually did not serve me in that area. I didn't feel more confident. I felt like guys were paying more attention to me for the wrong reasons. So truly, I never felt enhanced by them. And I probably covered them up more than anything, which is, you know, you spend all that money and then I really just kept them under wraps because it made me more self-conscious.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you were happy to remove them, because I've read about the blogs and I've read about some of the women that never really liked their implants, that from day one, they knew they made a mistake, but then they started feeling sick, and then they learned about the breast implant illness and they were happy to get them out. But there are people out there that love their implants, that think that it's the best decision they ever made. Maybe they made it when they were younger and now they're a part of them. They're renting space in their body. And so that can become a little harder decision. So how what is your advice for someone who feels that they had them for a certain reason and maybe now they need to take them out for their health? Have you heard of any tests out there that people can do to make sure that it is the silicone? And it's not just the inside of the silicone, by the way, it's the outside coating that is causing the problem as well. So can you share anything about any tests that you've heard of? Or
no, there's nothing that I know of in that, but I would just reiterate that putting anything into our bodies is going to eventually cause some kind of reaction, right? Because it causes an immune response. And so while it might not happen, you know, I would have said last year, no, my implants are fine, you know, had them for 10 years, they're not causing me any problems. Like I said, I had no idea that they were connected. But whether you experience strong response when you first get them or 10 or 20 years later, I truly believe at some stage that will happen, because you can't put a foreign substance into your body, and like you said, especially one that is coated in 30 different chemicals, and expect the body to just be okay with that. Right? Yeah. It is creating a response. And so, you know, when they took my implants out, they weren't ruptured. There was nothing wrong with them, but they were starting to sweat, which is probably also an age thing. Like, you know, they're 11 years old, but underneath the implants at the back, there was starting to be massive inflammation. Right? So over time, that was probably just building up and building up. And yes, it's the same with other implants in your body. Some, of course, you're going to need, like, you know, you maybe need a rod in your spine or something. Those tend to still cause reactions, but not quite as strongly as implants, just because of for some reason, the silicone and all the chemicals that are coated in obviously are going to cause much more strong reaction than like titanium.
Yeah. And so that's what basically you talk about, implants and things that you put in your body. But that happens with frankenfoods, with processed foods. Our body responds to processed foods like it's an intruder in our body. And that's why people get inflammation. And that's why people get these autoimmune diseases. And that's why we might feel tired or weak or exhausted or whatever it is. And it's because your body is, instead of digesting, I just recently, Sunniva, went through a water fast. I never once, 5 days, I went water. I didn't eat for 5 days. I drank water. That's it, for 5 days. never once did I feel hungry. And it changed my perspective on food because I felt so much energy. Now, there were times where I felt exhausted, but I felt so much energy. And I asked the doctor that was supervising the whole process, Dr. Michael Clapper, and he said, you know, your body now is just focused on what it needs to do. You know, when you're eating healthy foods, your body is allowing it to digest. But when you're eating foods that are processed, full of sugar and all of that, your body's going to react pretty much similar to having an implant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So as you're coming out of surgery, now you are how much post-op?
I was just thinking about that. I think it was May, June, July. So maybe must be coming up to about 3 months, I think.
And how do you feel? What are some of the symptoms that have gone away?
I feel really good. So I feel like there are waves of detox that happen. I'm not doing any really strenuous detoxing. I'm just taking high dose vitamin C and a couple of naturopathic anti-inflammatories, keeping it quite simple. All my symptoms disappeared within about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So that was, you know, the dry mouth and dry throat, the memory loss, the foggy head, the hangover feeling, eczema, hormonal problems. I think will take a while to sort out because obviously that's something that, like I notice when I get my period, my body is definitely out of whack more than it should be. But my skin is a lot better. What else? I started getting really bad menstrual symptoms only in the last year, actually. So for 10 years, I was fine. I've never experienced strong PMS or anything. But in the last few months, it got really bad. And that went away as soon as I had the implants removed.
Wow.
That was a really big change. Soreness of joints, so like achiness in the body. Having to go back, so it feels like a lifetime ago that I must. That's why I've got.
Well, you know, I'm curious. Did you have any diagnosis? Because hypothyroidism is one of those. And for those of you who are watching at Lillian's radio show on Facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. If you have any questions for Sunniva, now she's not coming on as an expert. She's coming on as someone who has had a life experience and is willing to share so that if you have had breast implants or any form of implantation, that you look into that direction. We're going to be doing a series of we're going to have a series of conversations with doctors and experts and all of that in the future. But I wanted you to hear the story from Sunniva, who captured my attention. You know, you posted that you had this most beautiful picture of you topless with your implants over your breasts. And you wrote the most incredible article, and I had already started researching it. It's amazing. When the student is ready, the teachers appeared. So thank you so much for having the courage, Sunniva, to not only do this, to take your health back, but to openly share it. So share some of the symptoms, or did you have a diagnosis that you were being treated for, like that?
So I feel like I was lucky because I escaped pretty much low key compared to a lot of women. A lot of women experience much more extreme symptoms than I did. But I did have testing that showed my thyroid function was quite out and my hormones were out and that kind of thing.
And Sunniva, most people would say at that point, oh, if your thyroid is out, and just take the pill.
Right.
But you didn't, did you?
No, oh God, no. No, I've always, not only have I always been quite anti-medication, but again, New Zealand is not as likely to dish out medication as the States.
I'm telling you, I'm moving there tomorrow.
And I also go to a holistic doctor, so they're also even more reluctant to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was huge amounts. I mean, one with food sensitivities, like I would get such a reaction to a lot of foods and alcohol. I could have half a glass of wine and feel like really hungover and horrible from half a glass of wine, you know. So now it's like, oh, it's so nice to be able to have a drink and not feel like crap. Even though they're quite minor things, it's like, you know, it's nice to be able to experience those kind of things again.
Yes.
One thing I was getting was quite a lot of inflammation in my knees, and the back of my knees would get really swollen up, and that was puzzling. I'd been to physio and acupuncture and osteo and all the things, and it would never quite go away, and that went away immediately after surgery.
Wow. What is your advice for anyone who's thinking about getting implants or is feeling horrible about their body because they're flat chested? Because I believe that the flat chested is the new double D. I'm telling you, flat chests women, there's models out there that are removing their implants. There's a return to natural beauty.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like we get to look at different, like I said, different role models, right? Kate Moss is stunning, right? She is so beautiful and she's quite flat-chested. But it's when we are seeking something external to fix ourselves or improve ourselves, it's really a sign that we need to go inward and do the work from there. Because if we're feeling crap about ourselves, getting implants or something else might make you think it's fixed the problem. It's not fixed the problem, right? It's just like it's like putting a little Band-Aid over a massive gaping wound. As soon as we go internally and start doing that work in there, then those things that you think you need will start to fade away, and it shifts your perspective in a massive way. There is nothing sexier than natural breasts that are actually like that, are soft and feel really nice and actually have the, you know, that are you again. I felt so much more me again once I had them taken out, instead of these cold lumps that I had on my chest before. And maybe that's obviously different for everybody's experience. But one thing that we didn't mention, and I cannot believe this is not really public knowledge, is there are 1 or 2 types of cancer that are, and the FDA have released information about, that breast implants cause these types of cancer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
it's called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a type of non-Hodgkin's. It's an anaplastic large cell lymphoma, and it's not breast cancer, but it's a blood disorder, blood cancer, and it's a non-Hodgkin's like that is the FDA has actually made a link to it, but yet there's still women are getting implants today.
Yeah, and that baffles me that information is not widely spread.
It's not.
That plastic surgeons do not warn people about that when they're going to get implants.
Yeah. And what they do, I mean, back in the 90s, Sunniva, you're younger than I, much younger than I, but in the 90s, there was a moratorium. It was the end of, like late 90s. There was a moratorium with breast implants because there were people that were coming forward and saying that silicone was, the bags were disintegrating and they were having all these diseases. But what is the campaign? You have to raise the campaign of these crazy women are out there. And that's how you defend, you defend it. But it's crazy. This is to be continued. We're going to continue this conversation. There's too many people out there suffering, being diagnosed, misdiagnosed, but not even considering that it could be their implants. So if anybody is out there that is having these mysterious illnesses, go to breastimplantillness.com and you can send this video to as many people as you want so that they too can learn and do their research. Sunniva, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
No, of course, like do your research. You're going to do what you feel is right for you. And sometimes you have to go through your own mistakes like I did. Nobody probably could have told me at the time that that was a stupid thing to do. And I don't have regrets because I was such a different person back then to now.
That's right. That's right. And, but at least you were informed, or at least, you can make a choice, an informed choice. Now we're going to say goodbye for now to our podcast people. But if you want to join us in the future later on for our intimate conversation with Facebook at Lillian's radio show, you can join us anytime. And just remember, you're in choice, informed choice. That's the way to do it. This is Lillian McDermott and Sunniva Holt wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Hold on, we're going to continue talking.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. So thank you so much, Robert and Jenny and Mandy, and let's see who else is in here with us. Yes, there is anxiety, there's chronic illness, Mandy. The list is basically the same as of chronic illness, deficiency, and toxicity. You're absolutely right. And Jenny, thank you so much for sharing this video with members in your family that might be having some illnesses. For those of you who are out there, if you have any questions, Sunniva, how could people get a hold of you if they have any questions? Is this something that you're doing to help people, or you're just focusing on your coaching?
No, I focus on my coaching, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions or point people in the right direction, so they can contact me on Instagram or Facebook. Everything is under Sunniva Holt. SunnivaHolt.com as well. And that's how I reached out to you, and you were very kind to reach back out. Is there anything, and by the way, now that it's just us and all the other people who are watching, this is something that is documented. This is well known. This is an issue that's out there. You need to make sure that the kind of research that you did, Sunniva, I'm sure that you went to a doctor that specialized in breast implant illness. Did you not? I went to someone that had done a lot of explant surgery that came highly recommended. So if you go into probably on the breastimplantillness.com website or in the Facebook groups, I found the Facebook groups incredibly helpful. They have a list of recommended surgeons. So you definitely want to go to somebody that understands, and because the surgery is very different to implant surgery. So it is important to see the right person.
Yeah, because this is something that many women don't know. And capsulation is a symptom that your body is rejecting the implants. And what do the doctors do? They pop the capsules. What are the capsules for? To protect your body. The body starts forming these capsules around the implant to protect you from the silicone and the toxicity. But the doctors go, they pop them, they do surgery, they put the implant under the muscle, and they're not giving you the information that you need. So one of the reasons I am doing this is that I want to make sure that everybody has this information, me included, and that we can then make a decision on taking our health back. So this is the first of many conversations we're going to have. Sunniva, is there anything that you would like to add to our conversation that maybe we didn't discuss?
Well, going back to what you just said, it is so important to get if you are going to have the surgery done, that it is a total capsulectomy, because like you said, the capsule itself is very toxic. And so that is a big source of the inflammation and the problems that you may be experiencing in your body. So some surgeons will tell you that that's not important, right? Like you're saying, they'll just go, you just drain them or just take the actual implant out itself, and that is not enough. You might as well just not get the surgery done if you're going to go down that route.
Yeah. And I actually saw a video of this woman that the doctor that removed her implants left the capsules in,
Mm.
and they put new implants in.
Mhm.
So she didn't even know. She was having them out because of the amount of time, and it was time to update them and upgrade them or whatever. And so then she had the second explantation. She had not only the capsules, but her new capsules and the you know. And I love doing research, Sunniva. We're like sisters from another mister. When I heard your intro and I read your bio, I'm like, oh my gosh, we could be sisters. But I've been doing a lot of research on this, and it's sad that this is not in the news every day. And there have been so many women that have taken a stand and have said, no more. We're going to make this. We're going to get this out there in the media. I'm making a stand on this as well. I've done it with vaccinations. I've done it with, cancer, chemotherapy, and radiation. I've done it with that. And so this is just yet another that the classroom has taught me. This is so important.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and I'm Sunniva, and I'm sure you could also, there's nothing more important than health. You could have millions of dollars. What would you say if you had millions of dollars but didn't have your health? What was your life like?
Oh, a complete waste of time. So what's curious, isn't it, that some of the poorest people in the world are the healthiest because they don't have all these things available to them. Whereas in Western culture, it's, we have all these options, and it actually is to our own, it's actually causing negative effects. Why are so many more people in Western culture suffering from heart disease, diabetes, massive weight gain, all these problems that they don't have in, impoverished parts of the world.
Yes. I want to also add before we go, Sunniva, that the website, breastimplantillness.com, you can go to, as Sunniva suggested, to do your research, you can go to explantation experts. So if you go onto that list, it will tell you if they are recommended. So if you are thinking about doing surgery, that would be a great place, because they rate the doctors that are doing these surgeries as, whether they are an expert or, recommended, not so recommended, highly recommended. So I would say that is a great source for education. And also the FDA now the pressure is building for the implant industry for women that have suffered needlessly because of the pressure to look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So anything else that you would like to add before we go?
No, I think you've covered it very well. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sunniva. And for those of you who want to learn more about this, you're welcome to send me any emails that you would like, because I've been doing a lot of research. Like I said, we're going to do a series on this. And Sunniva, you're welcome to come back anytime to give us updates on how your health is doing and how your hormones are doing, maybe a year from now, as you start getting healthier. And till now, I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. But remember, the best way to be healthy is to listen to your body. And I love, Sunniva, how you listened to your intuition and it took you there. So thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so now it's time to say goodbye. And if you have any questions, please feel free to share, comment, ask, and I'll get the questions answered. And Sunniva, I'm sure she'll keep an eye on it as well. So we'll talk soon until we meet again.
Bye. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Sunniva.